Does it do, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Scotty Says. I am your host, and welcome to episode 127. 127, my folks. And, well, the journey is off to a peaceful start. The waters are placid. The weather is balmy aboard the SS Rambo as we set sail for championship waters. And much as I expected in my preview episode, I predicted the Rams would get out of the gates with a much better start this season in the Deuce 5, and that they would get out of the block at 2-0, and they did. And so now we face the very intriguing possibility now. You see, Coach McGenius has gone 3-0 twice in his illustrious tenure as Rams head coach. And in both those occasions where Coach McGenius went 3-0, well, do you know the Rams wound up in the Super Bowl? Yes, that's right. Both of his Super Bowl appearances started with seasons that began 3-0, and that's where we are on the precipice right now, my folks. But, well, there is a fly in the soup. To get to 3-0. There's literally a glitch in the matrix, because that's who the Rams have to vanquish as their next opponent in order to reach 3-0. They have to lasso the matrix. They've got to rope him down. They've got to hold him back. They've got to down press him. Because every time the matrix sees the Rams, Saquon Barkley, he just seems to salivate like one of Pavlov's dogs. He says, the Rams are coming, ding, ding, ding. And he eats. And so I have my keys to Rams upset on the road in Philly against the Eagles. And we'll get to that a bit later. But before we do, let's take a little bit of a glance back at the game that just concluded, the victory over the Tennessee Titans. And I'm sure Cam Ward is going to develop and become a much more polished quarterback. But right now, at this stage, I just felt the Rams had too much for Tennessee and Cam Ward. And see, what I've been telling you, my folks, is yes, Matty is a Hall of Fame quarterback, or he will be. Yes, Devontae Adams will be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Puka probably will be too at this pace. He just has to stay on this trajectory. He'll be a no doubt Hall of Famer. And so we do have on the Rams offense Hall of Fame caliber, top shelf caliber talent. And so, yes, on any given Sunday, why, they might just blow up on you. But I've been telling you that I believe the key to a deep Rams postseason run is that defense. And you see, my folks, you see, that defense is monstrous. That Rams defense is only allowed one touchdown, I believe, over the first couple of games. A lot of field goals by the opponents and a lot of sacks. In fact, Cam Ward, he was grazing on SoFi turf 5 times, 5 sacks, grazing. And so, yes, the defense, I believe, is the key to it all. And so we'll get to the numbers in just a bit. We'll take a look around the league a bit after that. Of course, we've got to apply the principle, my 25-30 principle. We'll apply it. But before we get to all that, regrettably, unfortunately, I have a bit of bad news to report. In fact, this past game against Tennessee, yes, it turns out that this also happened to be the first entry in the McBlunder Report, the dossier for 2025. It's the first entry. Hopefully, the entries will be few and far between. But our coach now, he's an unbalanced fellow. And I say that. I chide Coach McBlunder, but his success has been unparalleled as coach of the Rams, and I believe he's considered. I saw there was a poll that came out of GMs and coaches, executives, and our Coach McGenius, is considered the best head coach in all of NFL football. Better than Andy Reid, better than, these other guys, Harbaugh and Sirianni and those guys, better than Tomlin, of course. And now, as it stands, Tomlin and McGenius, well, they have similar accolades. They've both been to 2 Super Bowls. They've both won 1. Tomlin's been doing it a lot longer. But then on the other hand, in all that time, he's never tasted a losing season. We know 5-12. We know about that. So I believe that we are extremely fortunate to have Coach McBlunder as our coach, and we got him early and when he was young, and he's still hungry, and he's still got that energy. He's a magnificent molder, builder of culture, and of course the X's and O's, he can scheme them up with the best of them. So his only issue is he can stray into unbalanced territory, and that can cost him against better teams. Now, I've been warning about this for quite some time, as you know if you've watched previous episodes, and so regrettably, I must, with that disclaimer, with that prelude, I must include in this episode the first entry, the Deuce 5, the McBlunder Report. So let's just go ahead and take a look at exactly what happened, shall we? So let's set it up. There's prelude. It's 1st and goal from the Tennessee 3-yard line. The Rams have the ball, 1st and goal at the 3. Matty shifts to the gun. And then, he rolls left. It's incomplete for Tay, and so it's 2nd and goal now. 2nd and goal, and he is under center now, but he's throwing, and it's actually on this particular play under center, Matty bobbled the snap, and I don't know. Perhaps had there been a clean exchange, maybe it would have been a run play. I can't say for sure, but based on Mr. McBlunder's record, it's safe to say he was throwing in that instance too. Whichever the case, 2nd and goal. The snap is bobbled. Matty picks it up, throws incomplete for Tay. Okay, so 3rd and goal now. From the 3. You've thrown 2 passes incomplete. 3rd and goal from the 3. What will McBlunder do? Well, you know what he's going to do already, don't you? McBlunder is throwing yet again from the 3-yard line, and once again incomplete. So, 1st and goal from the 3. The game is still early in balance. 1st and goal from the 3. Incomplete. Settling for the field goal. Carty. And Carty is hardy. But I had to take note of that sequence because it reminds me of so many similar sequences. Need I remind you of Baltimore? Remember 9 straight run plays to open the game on the road against the Ravens? 9 straight runs, first and goal at the 3, and then incomplete. Field goal. But it's a new season, except old tendencies die hard. You dig? And so now we've just seen it again, the first glimpse of it. But I've sworn to give more leeway and latitude to McDub, and so I'm not going to hastily react to this sequence, and so I'll classify that as a McSquander. Classification level McSquander. Okay, that's fine. But then, my folks, let's fast forward to the first possession. After halftime, Rams are on offense. First possession of the third quarter, and L.A. is driving the ball once again, and they drive down to the Tennessee 9. First and goal at the Tennessee 9, and so here it is now. Here it is again. We've got the same scenario. Red zone alert. First and goal at the 9. What will McBlunder do? Has he made an adjustment from the last time the Rams had a first and goal? Once again, now first and goal. First and goal Rams at the Tennessee 9. Well, has McDub taken any lessons from the last sequence when the Rams had a first and goal? Has he made an adjustment after halftime in this situation? Well, I believe you know the answer. The answer is no. No, McBlunder, first and goal at the 9. This time, it's SSDD. Same shit, different drive. It's SSDD and 3 consecutive pass plays. 3 consecutive pass plays. First and goal at the 9. There's a quick out to Puka who gets blowed up. Medicine ball. Hospital ball. Okay. Second and goal. Now, K. Will over the middle. He lays out for one short of the end zone. Third and goal. Now you're around the 2-yard line. Third and goal. Incomplete for Tay in the end zone. 3 consecutive pass plays. 3 consecutive pass plays from first and goal. Same result. Cardi. Who is Hardy? 3 points. And so, because this follows right on the heels of the McSquander, the alert, the warning level has to be elevated, and so I am forced. I am compelled to report to you that this, my friends, this sequence, first and goal at the 9, 3 pass plays, field goal, this now qualifies as your first McBlunder Report entry of 2025. McDub. But in the end, the Rams just have too much for Tennessee. But that's the thing, don't you see? I've been telling you, I've been warning you, you can get away with this kind of business against Tennessee. You can get away with it against maybe the Cardinals. You can get by against the Giants. But when you play the Ravens, when you play the Eagles, see, those teams understand the 25-30 principle. They employ it regularly, routinely. And so when you take that out of balance show on the road to Philadelphia, you run a very high risk of coming home with an L on your head. And that is why I expect that the Rams will not be able to pull off the dub in Philadelphia. But there are 3 keys. 3 keys. I've given them keys before. I've given McBlunder the tasty recipe. I've given him the formula, the precise formula required to defeat the Eagles and the Ravens, who the Rams will have to play a bit later this season. But he has tended to eschew this unsolicited advice. And he's tasted L's at the hands of these better teams, you see? And so, my recipe for an upset this Sunday against the Eagles in Philly. Well, for one thing, Philly doesn't really look like they're clicking on all cylinders yet. They had a hard time with them damn Cowboys, and Dallas is stanky stank. And maybe they're a little better now than I gave them credit for being, but they're still going to be battling with the Giants to see who ends up at the bottom of the NFC East. So my point is, Philly doesn't look quite right now. That's a sign of a great team, that they cannot be hitting on all cylinders and still continue to stack dubs. And that's what they did. They got past them damn Cowboys, and then they had this past Sunday's Super Bowl rematch with KC. And again, they didn't look great. They didn't blow them out like they did in the big game, but they got the dub. KC was desperate. KC now 0-2. And so there's a possibility now that Philly, not really hitting on all cylinders early in the season to begin with, a little bit of a Super Bowl victors, let's say haze, maybe. And, well, they just had this big emotional, physical rematch with their Super Bowl opponents, KC, and they defeated them. Maybe there's a little bit of a letdown coming for the Eagles, huh? Maybe a little bit of a drop off. And you pair that up with the Rams going into Philly, employing the 25-30 principle, and then that defense doing what it does because defense travels, and then factor all that in together. And you have a strong scent of an upset. Okay? And so my keys for the Rams to upset the Eagles: control, restrain the matrix, put a glitch in the matrix, get out to an early lead. I strongly recommend the Rams jump out to an early lead and then control the game with the 25-30 principle. Do those things. Control the matrix. Get out to an early lead and apply the 25-30 principle and let that defense eat, and you can get the Eagles dead birds in Philly this Sunday. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. We shall see. And one other thing, McDub, please try to control your past happiest. Try. 6 consecutive pass plays in goal-to-goal situations, no touchdowns. 2 field goals, 6 consecutive pass plays, no runs. That's McBlunder Report worthy. Control yourself, sir. Or else you're going to wear an L on your head coming home from Philly. Now, the reality, though, is the Rams did get the dub. And as I've said on numerous occasions, it all boils down to a simple formula. Dubs and L's. L's and dubs. Which one did you get? Which one did you get? McWonder got the dub, so he is McDub today. Now, let's look at what I think is the key to it all this season, that Rams defense. Did you know that the Rams defense, as it stands right now, the Rams defense is top 5 in the NFL in points allowed, in yards surrendered. They are second in the NFL in sacks. They are first in defensive efficiency rating. They've only allowed 1 touchdown. Do you see where I'm going with this, my folks? And so, next up, the battle of the undefeateds, Philly, LA. Should be one hell of a game. I'm looking forward to it. So, before we go any further, let's go ahead and recognize where it is due. It's time for game balls in honor of the victory over Tennessee. Let's go ahead now and give out game balls. And so I want to start with the defense. All right, on defense, game ball. Byron Young, number 0. B. Young, he had 4 tackles plus an assist, 2 sacks, and B. Young forced a fumble on a pop that he delivered. And so B. Young was all over the place wreaking havoc. Game ball, Mr. Young. Game ball, sir. Game ball. Let's turn to the offense now. Game ball. You know, I thought about it. I think the soup du jour should be Puka Te Tutu. Doesn't that sound like a winner? See that on the menu? The waiter come over. I strongly recommend the Puka Te Tutu. It's wonderful. I'll have it, a Puka Te Tutu. What about you, dear? Yes, I'll make it too. Tutu. So, Puka Te Tutu, well, not much tutu, but we had plenty of Puka and Te. So, game ball, Puka Nacua. Puka with his second game ball in as many games. Puka had 8 receptions for 91 yards, plus he had that rushing touchdown on the sweep action. 45 yards more on the ground, 136 total scrimmage yards, plus a tutty. Puka, game ball, sir, game ball. And then my final game ball that I have to distribute today, game ball, Tay. Tay, Devontae Adams, welcome to the squad, sir. Devontae, 6 receptions, 106 receiving yards. He was the leading receiver on the day. 17.7 yards per reception, average, and a touchdown. Game ball, Devontae Adams. And then I have honorable mentions, of course. Let's keep it on the offensive side of the ball for right now. Honorable mention, Matty from the D, Matthew Stafford. He was 23 of 33, 298 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a Poltergeist strike. Honorable mention, Matty. Also, honorable mention, back on the defensive side now. Honorable mention, the leading tackler on the day for the Rams, Cam Kinchins. 7 solo tackles, 3 more assisted. Cam Kinchins. Honorable mention also. Honorable mention, Cam Curl. 5 tackles, 2 assists, and a sack. All over the stat sheet. honorable mention, Cam Curl. And so, there you have it. Game balls. Now, let's go ahead and apply the principle, the 25-30 principle, my patented formula. Let's apply the principle. Let's start with the victors. Let's start with the Rams. Well, Matty, as I mentioned, 23 of 33 plus a sack. That's 34. That's over. He's over. He's over the top. All right, and then, well, rushing. Well, they're credited for 25 runs, but 2 of them were a -5 for Matty trying to get out of trouble. That doesn't count. So, in fact, 23 design runs, 34 pass plays, missed both metrics, did McDub. Yeah. Now, just to be balanced, let's take a look at Tennessee. Let's look at Tennessee. Cam Ward, 19 of 33. 33, he's already over, plus 5 sacks, 38 pass attempts. And then rushing, well, let's see. Pollard had 20 carries, 92, good game. Really only 22 total runs, so both teams missed both metrics. And this is why I say now, when you go up against a team like Philly this game coming up, if you're out of balance and missing these metrics, sir, with all due respect, you're going to get your ass whooped. All right, so now we are in the home stretch. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Rams injury report. I mean, the official injury report hasn't been released as of this recording, but based on what I could gather from McG's press conferences, it looks like Ahkello Witherspoon is on the IR. He's out for at least 4 weeks, broken clavicle. Ouch. So that's a hit. That's a tough one on the defense to lose. Also, other injuries of note. Steve Avila with the ankle. McBlunder says he's making progress, but he would not confirm or deny he would be available for the Eagles. Also, he mentioned that Braden Fisk, had an oblique tweak. That's what he said. And he was limited in practice. Also, the ghost, Kobe Parkinson, he's dealing with an AC sprain. And so it's a shoulder issue. And so we don't know what his status will be. It was good to see Higbee back in the mix, though. And, hey, I saw Cousin Allen with a touchdown. 1 catch, but he cashed it in. All right, cuz. Now, back to the unofficial injury report. McBlunder says Jordan Whittington is dealing with a groin. He didn't mention Dotson, so I'm hoping Dotson will be back in the mix against the Eagles on Sunday. Because, with Jalen Carter now, a.k.a. the Spitter, you need all hands on deck on that offensive line. Oh, and one other Rams injury to report, McDub himself, McBlunder. He tore his plantar fascia, apparently. Well, I don't know when he did it. He didn't say when or how it happened, but I do know McDub does like to sprint down the sideline when he calls a late timeout to beat the play clock expiring. Maybe he was trying to call a timeout, sprinting, and I don't know. He hurt his footsie, though, but I guess he'll have to have a designated runner now, like in baseball. Somebody he can point to and he can run down there. Timeout against the Eagles. We'll see. But get well soon, coach. And let's now wrap it up by taking a quick look around the league, around the NFL. Well, there are plenty of interesting storylines. You got quarterbacks dropping like flies out there, right? McCarthy is out, and, well, Joe Burrow is out. So that, I think, puts a stake in my Cincinnati gets a wild card prediction. And, well, let's just look at the undefeateds as it stands going into week 3. Now, in the AFC, there are 4 undefeateds, 1 in each division. So, Buffalo, undefeated. Also, Cincinnati, that's kind of a shocker. Cincinnati undefeated. But I'm pretty sure that will change soon. And then also another shocker, Indy, the Colts. I like Shane Steichen. I've told you that for some time as a head coach. Well, Indy and Danny Dimes 2-0, and then once the Rams get past the Eagles, that's who they got next. Indy, Shane Steichen, and the Colts. And then the final undefeated in the AFC, the LA Chargers. Go ahead on, Harbaugh and the Chargers. And look who is winless. KC can't get a dub. Wow, how the mighty have fallen. Let's look at the NFC. Now, in the NFC, there is an undefeated in each division like the AFC, except for in the West, where there are 3 undefeateds. Could the West be the best division in football? Well, we'll see. But in the NFC, the aforementioned Eagles defending their Super Bowl 2-0. Green Bay, who I predict to make the playoffs. Now, you know that. Green Bay, 2-0. Tampa Bay, I predicted they will make the playoffs. The Bake Show, 2-0. And then in the NFC West, well, them damn Niners, 2-0. And they lost the quarterback. Purdy's out. And so I can't imagine that that's going to last too long. I think San Francisco is like a mirage in the desert, and they will fade and they will fall. And the other undefeated in the West, the Arizona Cardinals, huh? What? No, that won't last too long. I think both those teams will soon topple into the abyss. And so that leaves my prediction for NFC West champion in the Deuce 5, Deuce 6 season. Your LA Rams, 2-0, although it remains to be seen if they can get to that elusive 3-0. And so, at this point, what I'm going to ask now from you, what I'm going to ask you to do, throw me one of these, please. Like the video, show your support. Please like the video, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell. You'll be notified when I drop the next video. And the next video, as you know, won't be long from this video, because we will be back on the other side of the Eagles game in Philly. And we will chop it up, this you know. And so until then, my friend, Scotty says, thank you for watching. One love.